Exercise 30. Talk 1. Listen to part of a lecture in an anthropology class. The professor is preparing the students for a field trip.
Today the lecture is about petroglyphs. But before we begin, let's go over our plans for the field trip. As you'll remember, next week we'll be meeting in the parking lot of the lot outside this building at 8 o'clock in the morning. The bus will be leaving by 8:15, so we can be at the petroglyph site by 10 o'clock. A heads up. Please wear comfortable shoes because we'll be doing quite a lot of walking. And the area at the site, it's laid out with paths, so we won't actually be doing any climbing. In fact, climbing on the rocks is against the law since the area is a protected site. But it's a rather long walk from the bus parking area over there to the site, and then we'll be walking the paths to view the petroglyphs, so you'll be glad you've got comfortable shoes on. That said, let's begin our discussion of petroglyphs. What are they? Well, the general definition's very broad, including any symbols that have been carved or hammered into rocks. The term petroglyph comes from two Greek words, petro, which means rock, and glyph, which means carving. But why were they carved in the first place? For a variety of reasons, really. Some petroglyphs simply appear to mark a trail or identify the presence of water or good hunting grounds. But many petroglyphs record important events in the history of the people, or they invoke some magical presence in religious ceremonies. The major culture in the area that we'll be exploring on our field trip is the Hohokam, who probably lived at the site from about AD 300 to AD 1450. Since there are no current inhabitants, it's difficult to interpret the symbols on the rock art, but their modern descendants have the descendants of the Hohokam have provided some insights. In addition, some of the symbolism is shared by many cultures, and therefore we can interpret a few of the symbols that we see there either by researching other similar symbols or by relying on interpretations by current cultural groups with similar inscriptions. Okay. There are 4 basic types of symbols common to the area we're going to explore, which I've drawn on the handout, the one I passed out at the beginning of class. So let's refer to the first drawing, which looks like this. As you can see, it's a figure of a person. You'll see these on many of the rocks. Some of them illustrate activities that may have been significant to the Hohokam. Drawings of this kind are called anthropomorphs. The second set of symbols, and these are called zoomorphs, are animal figures. Some of the more common zoomorphs are deer, sheep, snakes, lizards, coyotes, and birds, all of which are still found in the area. But besides the obvious allusion to a successful hunt or when they are drawn close to other drawings, like a reference to a historic event, then these zoomorphs might also represent clans or family groups that are named for animals. Look at this deer. Here's what I mean. It could be a reference to a family that had taken the deer as the symbol for their clan. So a third set of symbols, and again I am referring to the handout, these are various representations of circles, especially concentric circles. In most cultures, symbols like this represent the sun, which usually figures prominently in religious ceremonies. Here are several examples. Finally, I want you to watch for spirals like these. The spiral is thought to be related to water, which can symbolize life or migration, but more often is interpreted as a spiritual symbol, perhaps a representation of the emergence of the first people from the spiritual world to this place. Let me also mention that when we go, you may see some crosses carved into some of the rocks, which are frankly very difficult to interpret. Some scholars believe that the cross may represent the important stars, such as Venus or the morning star. But other scholars remind us that many missionaries passed through the desert and may have carved the symbol of the cross on the rocks 1,000 years or more after the original carvings were made. Which reminds me, just a word about the site that we're going to visit. This entire area has highly significant spiritual meaning to the Native Americans. So I expect our group to treat it as a sacred place. You can bring a camera if you wish, since there's no objection to our taking photographs, but we should be respectful. Any questions?
Number 1. What is the main purpose of this lecture? Two. What are petroglyphs? 3. How are anthropologists able to interpret the symbols? 4. What might be represented by a zoomorph? 5. Listen again to part of the talk, then answer the question.
But, why were they carved in the first place? For a variety of reasons, really. Some petroglyphs simply appear to mark a trail or identify the presence of water or good hunting grounds. But many petroglyphs record important events in the history of the people, or they invoke some magical presence in religious ceremonies.
Why did the professor say this?
But, why were they carved in the first place?
Six. Select the petroglyph that is a spiritual symbol of life. Talk 2. Listen to part of a lecture in an astronomy class. The professor will discuss comets.
Comets are small bodies from the outer solar system that are characterized by gaseous emissions and consist of a solid nucleus, a cloudy atmosphere, which is called the coma, and a tail. Let me say that again. Comets are small bodies from the outer solar system that are characterized by gaseous emissions and consist of a solid nucleus, a cloudy atmosphere, which is called the coma, and a tail. This is an example of a typical comet. You can't really see it in this diagram, but the nucleus is made of ice with rocks and dust particles encrusted in it. When it's far from the sun, the nucleus of a comet may be completely frozen, and most are quite small. But as a comet approaches the sun, some of the ice on the surface vaporizes, and the gas and dust particles that were embedded in the ice of the nucleus are released and blown back by the solar wind. And that's what forms a hydrogen atmosphere and the tail of the comet. It's important to note that the tails of comets always point away from the sun because the solar wind pushes them back. Most comets have a nucleus that is less than, say, a body 10 miles in diameter, but the comas can extend out nearly 1 million miles. And some exceptional tails have been known to trail 100 million miles behind their comets. We classify comets as either short-period comets or long-period comets, depending on how long they take to orbit the Sun. And you may want to write this down. Short-period comets require fewer than 200 years, whereas long-period comets need more than 200 years. The key number there is 200 years. So when you do the math, you see that short-period comets tend to recur often enough to be, well, anticipated by the scientific community. For example, Edmund Halley used Newton's law of gravitation to calculate a comet's 76-year orbit and predicted that it would return in 1758. When it appeared on schedule, the comet was named Halley's Comet, and as many of you know, it passed near Earth on schedule in 1986. And when we add 76 years, we should see it again in 2061. Well, maybe you will, even if I don't. A little more on short-period comets. They're nearer the Sun, so consequently, they're heated and lose their ice by a process called sublimation. So their supply of gas may be depleted after only a few hundred revolutions, leaving them devoid of the coma and tail and all but invisible. But let me back up a minute. What I'm really saying is that the gaseous envelope burns up, leaving only a nucleus, which is virtually impossible to see. As far as we can tell, the short-period comets have their origin in a belt of comets that lies just beyond the orbit of Pluto. And since they are constantly burning up, in maybe less than 1 million years, all of the short-period comets, that's the short-period comets we're talking about now, they would have disappeared if it hadn't been for something called capture, a process whereby the planets, especially Jupiter, attract comets that have originated further away, replacing those that are decaying and maintaining the population of the short-period group at a more or less stable level. By the way, capture doesn't usually occur on the first pass, but may happen after many passes, and eventually, the comets that have been captured, they detach themselves and start moving toward the Sun, like other short-period comets. Okay, let's just touch on the long-period comets now. We think that the long-period comets come from a cloud of comets 1,000 times further away than Pluto. 1,000 times. Consequently, they may be seen only once in recorded history. It's also worth thinking about that most of these comets travel in elongated orbits that cross the circular orbits of the planets. Thus, the possibility of collision does exist at the points where the orbits intersect. Here, look at this drawing, which shows the orbits of 4 planets with several comets intersecting them. See what I mean? Where they cross? Oh yes, another interesting point. Some of the craters on the satellites of the outer planets are probably evidence of past cometary collisions. In fact, the Galileo spacecraft on its way to Jupiter got some fantastic photographs of impacts on Jupiter's right side. And even the craters on Earth's moon could have been caused by comets.
Number 1. What is the main purpose of this lecture? Two. What causes the tail of a comet to point away from the Sun? 3. What is the difference between a short-period comet and a long-period comet? 4. What is capture? 5. Listen again to part of a talk, then answer the question.
Comets are small bodies from the outer solar system that are characterized by gaseous emissions and consist of a solid nucleus, a cloudy atmosphere, which is called the coma, and a tail. Let me say that again. Comets are small bodies from the outer solar system that are characterized by gaseous emissions and consist of a solid nucleus, a cloudy atmosphere, which is called the coma, and a tail.
Why does the man say this?
Let me say that again.
Six. Identify the orbit of a comet.
This is the end of the listening exercises. Remember, you are making progress. Keep up the good work. This is the script for the speaking exercises. During each exercise, you will respond to a speaking question. You may take notes as you listen. The reading passages and the questions are printed in the book, but most of the directions will be spoken. Ready? Let's begin. Exercise 31, Topic 1. Listen for a question about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you have 15 seconds to prepare and 45 seconds to record your answer.
What are the qualities that you look for in a best friend? Describe a friend and explain what influences you to choose this person as a best friend. Be sure to include specific details and examples in your answer.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Example speaking answer.
My best friend's also my neighbor, so we've known each other since we were in grade school. The qualities that I like in her are high moral values, and also we like to do the same things. Her family's taught her to be honest and reliable. So I trust her because I know that she'll tell the truth and she'll be there for me. Also, we both like to read and we enjoy music, so we have a good time going to bookstores and concerts or just listening to music. The reason that I think these qualities are important is because best friends should help each other and enjoy spending time together, and a person with good values you can trust to help you. And if you have common interests, you'll enjoy doing the same things.
Exercise 31, Topic 2. Listen for a question about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you have 15 seconds to prepare and 45 seconds to record your answer.
How do you like to spend your leisure time? Choose an activity and explain why you enjoy participating in it. Be sure to include specific details and examples in your answer.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Example speaking answer.
One of the activities that I enjoy the most is playing volleyball. I like it because it gives me the opportunity to get exercise and to interact with my friends in a healthy way. I like to be part of the team, and sometimes we travel to other cities to compete. And this gives my friends and me a chance to see other places and meet new people. But the reason that I'm spending so much of my leisure time playing volleyball is because I'm a good player, and I hope that I can improve my game enough to earn a volleyball scholarship from a college. My coach says I have a good chance if I work hard.
Exercise 32. Topic 1. Listen for a question that asks your opinion about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you have 15 seconds to prepare and 45 seconds to record your answer.
Some teachers encourage competition among their students. Others help students learn how to collaborate and study in groups. Which approach do you think is better for learning, and why do you think so? Be sure to use specific reasons and examples to support your opinion.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Example speaking answer.
I think teachers should help students learn how to study in groups because after students leave school, they'll have to rely on collaboration in order to succeed. Teams and committees get the job done in most employment settings. There are very few positions in which the responsibility and the credit for a project belong to one individual. In the biographies of successful people, it's clear that they owe their success to others and that they've had to collaborate in order to achieve it. And competition implies that someone must lose in order for another to win. And the current thinking in business and industry is to try to work out a win-win situation. And that means that all parties have to collaborate.
Exercise 32. Topic 2. Listen for a question that asks your opinion about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you have 15 seconds to prepare and 45 seconds to record your answer.
Some people cope with stress by exercising. Others talk with family or friends. How do you handle stressful situations? Be sure to use specific reasons and examples to support your opinion.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Example speaking answer.
I use several methods to cope with stress depending on why I'm feeling upset. If it's a situation I can do something about, I try to talk with the people involved. For example, when I'm angry with my friend, I'll tell him so. And I'll try to resolve the problem with him directly. I feel better, less stressed, when I express my feelings. But sometimes stressful things happen that you can't really do much about. For example, when I have a lot to do at school, it's just part of life. So when that happens, then I take long walks. I'm not sure whether it's the rhythm of the walking or maybe the fresh air, but I do know that it always helps me clear my mind and calm down so I can go back to the stressful situation again without feeling so out of control.
Exercise 33. Topic 1. Read a short passage and listen to a talk on the same topic. Then listen for a question about them. After you hear the question, you have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to record your answer.
The administration at City College is considering a proposal for an accelerated bachelor's degree program. Read the notice from a poster on campus. You have 45 seconds to complete it. Please begin reading now. Now listen to a student who is speaking to an advisor. She is expressing her opinion about the new program.
First, I'd like you to know that I probably qualify for the accelerated program because I'm an honors student, but I'm not going to apply because I don't agree with the plan. You see, the idea is to select some students for special treatment, and I don't think that's fair. If you limit the classes to 20 students each, then the big lecture classes for the rest of the students will just have to get bigger and more impersonal than they already are. Look, I'm already accelerating my program by taking extra classes every term. Students don't need a new program to do that. Besides, it will cost money, and that always means higher tuition and fees.
The student expresses her opinion about the college's plans for an accelerated 3-year degree program. Summarize her opinion and the reasons she gives for having that opinion.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Example speaking answer.
The woman feels that the accelerated program is unfair because the large lecture classes, the ones for the students who aren't admitted to the program, the new program, those classes will probably be even larger in order to limit the number of students in the accelerated classes to 20. She's also concerned that the accelerated program will be expensive to administer, and the additional cost could result in an increase in tuition for all the students. She also points out that it isn't necessary to create an accelerated program for students to complete their degrees in 3 years because she's already doing that by taking more than the usual number of classes every term.
Exercise 33, Topic 2. Read a short passage and listen to a talk on the same topic. Then listen for a question about them. After you hear the question, you have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to record your answer.
The administration at State University is considering a proposal to close the dorms during spring break. Read the notice from the campus newspaper. You have 45 seconds to complete it. Please begin reading now. Now listen to a student who is speaking at the meeting. He is expressing his opinion about the new program.
Well, I'm all for a plan that will help the university save money, but not like this. When we sign our dorm contracts, the university agrees to provide us with a home. And it isn't right to tell us that we can't stay in our home over the break if we choose to. Besides, we keep some valuable possessions in our rooms, like computers and audio equipment. I live in Norman Hall, and I don't want someone else living in my room. Do I have to move all my stuff out, or do I just hope that the person who is staying there won't bother it? I don't think that the university has thought this through.
The student expresses his opinion about the proposal for closing the dorms over spring break. Summarize his opinion and the reasons he gives for having that opinion.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Example, speaking answer.
The man thinks that students should be able to stay in their dorm rooms over spring break if they choose to. He argues that the dorm students have a contract with the university. He also says that The students consider the dorm their home, and they should be able to stay home during a break if they want to. His strongest argument is probably that the students in Norman Hall would have to let strangers stay in their dorm rooms over the break, so they would either have to move their valuables out or they would have to trust the person staying in their rooms not to damage their computers and audio equipment. So he doesn't think that the university has considered all the potential problems.
Exercise 34, Topic 1. Read a short passage and listen to a conversation on the same topic. Then listen for a question about them. After you hear the question, you have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to record your answer.
The administration at City College has decided to shorten the hours for on-site registration. Read the notice that students received. You have 45 seconds to complete it. Please begin reading now. Now listen to a conversation between two students. The man is expressing his opinion about the change.
I think registration is going to be worse than ever.
Oh, maybe not. A lot of people will just use the internet to register online.
I won't. And a lot of other people won't either. For one thing, the website keeps going down whenever there's heavy use, and there will be during registration week.
That's true, but it's still better than standing around waiting your turn at all those tables in the gym.
Okay, but what about the problems that you can't work out online, like the professor's signature for an override when there are too many students in the class? If you register on site, the professor's right there to do it.
That's true. And sometimes the advisors can help.
Right. They can keep you from taking the wrong course. But the real problem is going to be the long lines. If people have to register in 3 days instead of 5, it's going to be more crowded than ever. It was just getting manageable because of the internet option.
The man expresses his opinion about the changes in the registration procedure. Report his opinion and explain the reasons he gives for having that opinion.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Example speaking answer.
The man thinks that the changes in registration will cause problems for the students. The university claims that students will be able to register online, but the man won't use that option because the website is unreliable during peak use, like a registration period. He also maintains that there are problems that require a professor's signature. For example, when a student wants permission to register for a class that's already full. That can't be done on the computer. And he says that it's helpful for students to see their advisors to be sure they're signing up for the right courses. But his biggest concern is that the 3-day registration schedule on site is going to be even more crowded than in the past because the same number of people will be trying to register in a shorter time frame.
Exercise 34, Topic 2. Read a short passage and listen to a conversation on the same topic. Then, listen for a question about them. After you hear the question, you have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to record your answer.
The Fall Career Fair is being planned. Read the notice that appeared in the campus newspaper. You have 45 seconds to complete it. Please begin reading now. Now listen to a conversation between two students. The woman is expressing her opinion about the fair.
I can't decide whether to go to the career fair.
Well, I'm going to go. I missed it last year, but I was just a junior. Now that I'm a senior, I'm serious about finding a job.
Yeah, but there will be so many other people trying to talk to the representatives all at the same time. Maybe it's not worth it.
Look, you have to. Make an impression. I'm working really hard on my resume, and I'm going to wear a suit, even if it is Saturday. I think this is an opportunity to stand out from the crowd, and besides that, where else can you find people from 100 companies in the same room? I'm saving a lot of work later by deciding which companies I really want to work for.
You mean you won't send applications to companies that don't impress you?
Right. But probably the best reason to go is because my friend Carla got her job at a company that interviewed her at the career fair last year. It works.
The woman expresses her opinion about the career fair. Report her opinion and explain the reasons that she gives for having that opinion.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Example speaking answer.
The woman has a very positive opinion about the career fair because she's a senior and she's a serious candidate for a position, and she thinks that by presenting a good resume and dressing well, she'll make a good impression on the recruiters, which will give her an edge on the competition. She also points out that it's a good opportunity to form opinions about the companies that participate in the fair. She mentions that there are 100 companies participating, and this will give her a chance to talk to a lot of representatives. After the fair, she'll only pursue positions with the companies that she chooses based on her conversations. She says that her friend interviewed at the career fair last year and was hired by one of the companies, so she knows that it's possible to get a job by attending the fair, and that's probably the best reason for her favorable opinion.
Exercise 35, Topic 1. Read a short passage and listen to a lecture on the same topic. Then listen for a question about them. After you hear the question, you have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to record your answer.
Now read the passage about a village. You have 45 seconds to complete it. Please begin reading now. Now listen to a part of a lecture in an anthropology class. The professor is talking about an academic village.
Thomas Jefferson was probably the first to refer to a college campus as an academic village. This term seems appropriate because the campus that Jefferson created when he designed the University of Virginia included all of the qualities that are found in the definition of a traditional village. His plan was realized in the shape of a large rectangle. It featured a grassy lawn with the Rotunda Library at the center and 10 pavilions along 2 sides of the lawn, each to house the classrooms for one branch of learning. Behind the pavilions, he created formal gardens with another set of buildings on each side to serve as residences and dining halls. Quite soon, businesses grew up around the periphery of the rectangle to support all manner of basic services, as well as to provide areas for social and educational exchange. It is interesting to reflect on the impression that the classical architecture and the balanced pattern of the campus may have had on the self-concept of the students and faculty. Clearly, Jefferson had provided them with the outward structure of an organized, rational academic community.
Refer to Thomas Jefferson's definition of a college campus presented in the lecture and explain how the information in the anthropology text supported Jefferson's view.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Example, speaking answer.
Jefferson called a college campus an academic village, and the definition of a traditional village in the anthropology text supports his view. First, a village is self-contained, and so is a campus, because there are facilities for daily life, residences, dining halls, and classrooms. Second, a village can store most of the goods and services inside its limits. And so does a campus, because businesses for basic services and social life, they spring up around the main area. Third, residents in a traditional village have common objectives, and so do the students and faculty of a college campus, who are united by, educational goals. And, last, a traditional village reflects the spirit of the community. By using classical architecture, Jefferson designed the University of Virginia to give the impression of a rational academic village.
Exercise 35, Topic 2. Read a short passage and listen to a lecture on the same topic. Then listen for a question about them. After you hear the question, you have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to record your answer.
Now read the passage about entrepreneurs. You have 45 seconds to complete it. Please begin reading now. Now listen to a part of a lecture in a business class. The professor is talking about Levi Strauss.
Levi Strauss is a good example of the kind of entrepreneur that is described in your textbook. He came to the United States from Bavaria as a teenager. After selling clothing and dry goods from door to door for several years in New York, he made the journey to California with a supply of canvas. The gold rush was at its peak, and Strauss got the idea to sell tents to the gold miners. When he discovered that the miners were not very interested in purchasing tents, he wasted no time in recycling the brown canvas cloth into sturdy pants, a product in great demand in the mining camps. Later, he began making work pants in a blue cotton fabric imported from France called serge de Nîmes, but known in America as denim. Along with Jacob Davis, a tailor from Nevada, Strauss patented a pattern of copper rivets to strengthen the stress points on pants, especially the pockets. They first became known as waist overalls, then Levi's. They became so popular that Strauss concentrated most of his effort on the manufacture and sales of durable work pants.
Referring to both the lecture and the reading passage, explain why the experience of Levi Strauss is typical of small business owners.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Example speaking answer.
Levi Strauss is representative of the small business owners described in the reading passage. He was already employed full-time as a teenager selling clothing and dry goods. He showed a strong desire for independence when he journeyed to California and a high level of initiative when he followed through on his idea to sell tents to miners. Then when he realized that the miners needed work pants more than they needed tents, he was quick to take advantage of the opportunity. First, he recycled the canvas fabric from his tents into sturdy pants, and later he made work pants in denim. The patent for the copper rivets to protect the stress points on pockets was very innovative. Finally, like so many successful entrepreneurs, Strauss didn't follow a fixed business plan. He reacted to coincidence, and he responded to opportunity.
Exercise 36. Topic 1. Read a short passage and listen to a lecture on the same topic. Then listen for a question about them. After you hear the question, you have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to record your answer.
Now read the passage about color. You have 45 seconds to complete it. Please begin reading now. Now listen to a part of a lecture in an earth science class. The professor is talking about the color of the sky.
Let's look at a very practical application of the theory that you read about in the assignment. As you will recall, sunlight contains all of the colors, but when it is scattered, it is perceived by the human eye as having a specific color depending on the wavelength. Red light has the longest wavelength, for example, and blue light has about half that of red light. This difference in wavelength means that blue light will be scattered nearly 10 times more than red light. Even without all the smoke and dust in the atmosphere that would cause light to scatter, the oxygen and nitrogen molecules would still cause the scattering of light. When blue light waves try to go through the oxygen and nitrogen molecules, light is scattered in all directions. All of the other colors are scattered too, but the shorter the wavelength of the color, the more that color gets scattered by the atmosphere. So, blue light's short wavelength causes it to be scattered the most, and we see blue from all directions in the sky.
Referring to both the lecture and the reading passage, explain why the sky is blue.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Example speaking answer.
Color travels in light waves that emanate from a light source. When light is scattered, as for example by a prism, white light is refracted into bands of color, and each has its individual wavelength. Blue light has a short wavelength as compared with, say, red light, which has the longest wavelength. The result is that blue light is scattered about 10 times more than red light. So in the sky, the sun is the light source. And when blue light waves go through the atmosphere, then oxygen and nitrogen molecules, or even smoke and dust particles, scatter the light in all directions. All of the colors are scattered, in fact, but because blue light has such a short wavelength, it gets scattered the most. And the human eye perceives the color blue from everywhere we look in the sky. That's why the sky's blue.
Exercise 36, Topic 2. Read a short passage and listen to a lecture on the same topic. Then listen for a question about them. After you hear the question, you have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to record your answer.
Now read the passage about polio. You have 45 seconds to complete it. Please begin reading now. Now listen to part of a lecture in a biology class. The professor is talking about polio.
Epidemics of poliomyelitis have been referred to as the plague of development. Ironically, major epidemics seem to occur after there's an improvement in sanitation. That's because when children are living in unsanitary conditions, such as a town with open sewage pipes, virtually all of them are exposed to the poliovirus during infancy when the disease is least likely to cause symptoms. So the infants and small children who are exposed, well, they acquire a lifelong immunity to the disease. Whereas older children or adults who become infected, they more often suffer paralysis or death. Okay. As a society improves its sanitation system, it's more probable that fewer babies will be exposed to the poliovirus, and so, as they're exposed in later childhood, the disease begins to appear sporadically and spreads in the usual ways. Because the more wealthy members of society are the beneficiaries of all improvements, including sanitation, they're often the first victims of the polio epidemics. Of course, improvements may eliminate many other diseases. It's just that immunization for polio becomes more urgent in societies that have improved sanitation.
Referring to both the lecture and the reading passage, explain how polio is spread and why the more developed societies tend to suffer more serious epidemics.
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Example speaking answer.
Polio is spread by drinking water that's contaminated by the virus. This often happens when sewage, it pollutes the water supplies. The virus is swallowed in the water and, passes into the digestive tract through the intestines and back into the sewage system where it repeats the cycle. In infants, the disease doesn't usually cause serious symptoms, but among older children and adults, polio can result in paralysis or death. So, the more developed societies tend to suffer epidemics because in communities without sewage treatment, babies are exposed to the polio virus early enough to acquire a lifelong immunity. But in wealthier communities with sanitation systems, well, fewer babies are exposed to the virus, and then if they are exposed when they are older, they suffer symptoms and contribute to an epidemic because the population isn't immune.
Exercise 37, Topic 1. Listen to a short conversation, then listen for a question about it. After you hear the question, you have 20 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to record your answer.
Now listen to a conversation between two students.
How's the paper coming along?
Not very well.
Really? What's the problem?
Well, I can't possibly get it done by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
I see. Maybe I could help you. I'm a really fast typist.
Thanks. It's great of you to offer, but I don't know what I would ask you to do. I have the research done, and now I'm writing it on the computer. I'm composing everything on the screen, so...
I was thinking maybe you were writing it out on cards. Then I could have typed it for you while you were doing something else. You know, organizing the bibliography or something.
I wish. But I guess I'll just have to go it alone.
Well then, why don't you ask the professor for an extension?
I don't know. I thought about that, and he's really good about things like that, but it's so late now. I mean, it's the day before it's due.
I'd still try to talk with him if I were you. You don't have to ask for a week, just a couple of days. But listen, if you try to finish it instead, call me. Maybe there will be something I can do to help.
Describe the man's problem and the two suggestions that the woman makes about how to handle it. What do you think the man should do and why?
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Example speaking answer.
The man has a paper due the next morning, but he doesn't think he can complete it by the deadline. So the woman makes two suggestions. First, she offers to help him type the paper, but he's composing it on the computer, so then she encourages him to ask the professor for an extension. But the man is reluctant to do that because he feels it's too late to work it out with the professor. I think the man should try to talk with the professor, and he should ask for a few more days to finish the paper. He should be honest about it, and he should apologize for the late notice and accept responsibility. The truth is usually the best approach, in my opinion, and if the professor refuses, well, then the man can still work hard to finish on time.
Exercise 37, Topic 2. Listen to a short conversation, then listen for a question about it. After you hear the question, you have 20 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to record your answer.
Now listen to a conversation between two students.
You don't know anyone who's looking for a roommate, do you?
Not really, but I thought you had a roommate.
I do, or rather I did. But she's getting married in the fall, so I have to find somebody else.
Okay. Why don't you put an ad in the newspaper? The campus paper, I mean, not the city paper. Or better yet, you could sign up at the housing office. They post notices on a big bulletin board, and there are always people looking for roommates.
Yeah, I could do that. But I just keep hoping I'll find out that one of my friends is looking for a roommate. I'd rather live with someone I know.
I can understand that. Still, it's really expensive to keep an apartment on your own. I know. How about the dorm?
What?
Okay, it wouldn't be my first choice either, but it's inexpensive compared with an apartment, so you could save some money while you're there, and that way you could get a better apartment when you moved out. Besides, maybe you'll find someone you really want to share an apartment with who wants to move out of the dorm the next semester with you.
Describe the woman's problem and the 3 suggestions that the man makes about how to handle it. What do you think the woman should do and why?
Please prepare your answer after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep. Example speaking answer.
Because the woman's roommate is getting married in the fall, she has to find another living situation. The man offers several suggestions. He mentions putting an ad in the school newspaper and posting a sign in the housing office. He also suggests that she could move into the dormitory to save money until she finds another roommate. Well, I think the woman should use all of the man's ideas. She should advertise for a roommate, but she should also make preliminary arrangements to live in the dorm if she isn't successful in locating someone she wants to share an apartment with. And if she's really lucky, she'll learn that one of her friends needs a roommate for the fall term, because that's what she'd really like to happen.